I went to the pursuit of truth, so I've been a bit tardy in releasing this one. It's about the bill that's actually gone. Well, it's gone through in the Parliament, isn't it? But it's going to the next. I think they have to vote again, don't they? And before it goes to, or is it going to the House of Lords? The assisted dying bill, and I know I've covered it a few times over the pursuit of truth. And then there was an interesting one on Sky News about a week before the vote, where they showed how it had taken place in Canada. Because apparently in Canada, it started off with the same kind, 10 years ago, the same kind of, safeguards that they put in. But now they're saying that in Canada, homeless people on the streets and people who 10 years ago wouldn't be eligible to go through the assisted dying are now using that because their life is so bad that they'd rather die than continue on living in this way. And it just brought a whole new argument to this that I hadn't considered. That obviously the UK government saying that we've got all these strict things. You've got to have 2 doctors. You've got to be within 6 months. How they calculate 6 months you're going to die, when most time doctors can't really give you a very accurate. I don't know how legal that part's going to be. And there's a few other safeguards that are in there, but it makes you, they're saying, well, these safeguards are here, but then it makes you wonder that, like someone saying about opening Pandora box, that this, once there's a legislation in, these things change over time, like they have in Canada, whereas they probably had the same kind of things at the beginning, and now it seems like that's been weakened down, that anyone with capacity, that's another one of them, which of course is going to make it very difficult for a lot of people to use this assisted dying bill, because people may lose their capacity but be in great pain, and therefore it doesn't really help them. They may not be within 6 months of dying, and they may lose their capacity before they get to that 6 months. I don't know how they're going to get around that part. I suppose that's the bit that they still need to discuss. But my worry is that this could be, the same as Canada, where it goes down that time over years of different governments as people, because at the beginning, people are always wary of something. A few years ago, probably wouldn't have gone through. Now it's gone through. In a few years' time, people will be more used to it. It'll be part of normal day, and then it get weaker and weaker until, if you have, you feel like you don't want to live, then you can just go ahead and say, and then they no longer have the need for 2 doctors, or a doctor can assess your mental health and say, well, he's of right mind, so why shouldn't he be able to make that choice? I mean, maybe you should be able to make that choice if you really want to, but the problem is that I know from personal experience from a long time ago that sometimes you can have these suicidal ideations, these thoughts, you think your life is so bad, but it can change. And the problem is things always change. That's the one thing about life. It's never the same. Obviously it could get worse, but more likely if you're at the bottom, it's only going to get better. But the problem is at that, when there's moments when you're in that frame of mind, and you can be there for some time, and you feel like life isn't worth living, and why were you ever born, and that all that kind of stuff. And you may try something, and then if it works, then that's the end of it. Or now, if you had the assisted dying, you could be in that mood and decide that you don't want to live anymore. And then, but the thing is that all the things, when I think of it myself, all the things that I wouldn't have been able to experience if I had been in enough frame of mind to do it properly, successfully, or whatever, then I wouldn't have had the family that I have. I wouldn't have had all the experiences. I wouldn't have had all the love. And yeah, there's always ups or downs, but we only have one go at this. So you might as well get to the end, as it were, and just experience it for all of its ups and downs. But the problem is I know when you're in that frame of mind, it's difficult to have that kind of. That's why it's very important to have people around you, I guess, to sort of, or other things to sort of wake you up, or to be able to support you in that time frame. Is strange and horrible when your mind is locked within that darkness, and there's there seems like no way out and everything seems so bad. But yeah, I'm going to play it now. I just thought it was quite interesting. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.
I have a diagnosis of depression, anxiety, social phobia, and borderline personality disorder. So that would be my route to try and go.
Here, assisted dying can be promoted and legitimized as healthcare. When it comes to marginalized communities, vulnerable communities, when it comes to assisted dying, why are they at greater risk?
Well, I think that in many ways, vulnerable communities are already neglected by our government and our society.
When MAID was introduced, it was only available for terminally ill people. But by 2021, it was extended to those with a disability or serious medical condition, even when not life-threatening. Some opponents say it's now being offered as an easier option than interventions to save lives.
If you are poorer and you're female and you're younger, you kind of fit the typical demographic of high suicidality. And so the question is, are we just helping people who are suicidal? Instead of offering them suicide prevention, we are offering some of these people suicide assistance.
Anyone requesting an assisted death must have a medical reason, a fatal diagnosis, or unmanageable pain. But there are cases of patients experiencing isolation and homelessness who have asked to be killed.
The UN has said that. In fact, the Human Rights Commissioner of Canada has twice repeated warnings that they are concerned about reports of people dying by assisted dying who seem to be choosing it because their supports and services are not in place.
The developments in Canada are being closely followed around the world, especially in the UK, ahead of a vote to decide if assisted dying will be allowed. Supporters of assisted dying in Britain say it's wrong to compare the UK to Canada because the countries have two completely different legal systems, and they insist in the UK, assisted dying will only apply to terminally ill adults with 6 months to live and never the disabled or mentally ill. But there are warnings from over here. Trudeau Lemons is a professor of health law and bioethics. He supported assisted dying in Canada when it was first introduced, but not anymore.
I think from the beginning our law was already too broad. And when I see how it kind of has set in motion and dynamic of what I call normalization of assisted dying as a form of medical care. We have huge wait times in the mental health context. And within that context, assisted dying has been sold as the lesser of two evils. And I would say that's perverse. So I know that the UK has also a struggling healthcare system. Mm-hmm. I would say the circumstances in which this is introduced in the UK would, for me, be a huge concern. It's basically kind of opening up a can of worms or opening up Pandora's box, and it's very hard to contain it when you have already pressures in the system.
Orlando was a patient in that struggling healthcare system. He says letting people kill themselves is letting them down. How did that make you feel about all of these people who will now qualify for an assisted death because of a struggle with their mental illness?
It scares me to death, you know. If it was available, you know, earlier, I would have chosen it in 1994. I would have tried it I would have asked for it in 2002, in 2004, in 2008 when I attempted my suicide, in 2012, in 2014, you know. And I'm alive because it's not available now. And because I failed in 2008. You want the pain to end, right? And the last thing you need is someone in a white coat who says, well, I see it's kind of rough for you. How about we help you end your life? Do you like that? Now, does that say you're worthwhile if you hear that? Does that say you have value? Does that contradict that voice in your head? Or does it reaffirm and confirm it?
Any adult with a serious illness, disease, or disability here can seek help in dying. It just takes 2 medical assessments.
This, I'm guessing, is her urn? What's left of my wife, of her friends have scattered tons all around the world already.
Okay.
And here's a little one
Okay.
with, hear that?
Yeah, I do.
She had a crooked front tooth. And I like to think of that as her smile in here. This is the one I hold at night, or if I'm suicidal, when I talk to her at night.
Scott's wife Joan died 4 years ago. Cancer ravaged her body. She chose to have an assisted death here at home. This video was recorded just before she died.
I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody and say goodbye tomorrow. I love you all. If you want to call or text tomorrow, that's fine. I'll try to keep up. I know I'll be busy. But I just want to say I love you with all my heart.
My daughter sat on this side, I sat on that side. We both held her hands. Joan told her, yep, I'm ready. And we said our goodbyes, my daughter and I and everybody. And I remember feeling her pulse. And I remember feeling the last beat. It stopped, and I looked at the clock. It was 3:15 exactly. And I said to the nurse, I think she's dead.
Canada says its citizens have the right to a dignified death to end their suffering. And unless she changes her mind, Robin will be able to end hers after March the 17th, 2027. Why do you want to end your life?
Because I want to end the physical pain. I want the physical pain to stop. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm finished. I'm 55 now, and I'm going, I can't go on.
Are you desperate to die?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
And they put a bit about anyone feeling emotionally distressed, suicidal can call Samaritans for help on 116 123 or email Joe, that's J-O, at Samaritans, so that's SAMARITANS.org in the UK. Or in the US, call the Samaritans branch in your area 1-800-273-TALK. Very sad. And the woman at the end was the one that had BPD and other mental health issues. The story of the sister dying with the husband was very sad. But I think just illustrates again the world that we live within. These are problems that could be solved if we lived a different way. Our system is part of this problem. You know, the solving of that will solve a lot of these things. You know, the getting rid of money. Because we have the resources, we have the manpower, the human resources, we have all the ideas, we have all the land, all the bits that we need. The thing that shackles us, the thing that stops us is this bordering us up and competing with each other in country and in land to try and obtain money, to buy things, to do things, a lot of it wasted. That isn't the reason why we're here. And I know I say it and I bang on about it all the time, but I guess I can't stop saying it until it changes. But if you want to hear more of that, you can listen to my other Pursuits of Truth. But that's basically the problem, our system and money. And until we get rid of those things, until we see each other as human beings and not in the little boxes that we put ourselves in, these things are going to continue happening. And it's not going to get to the root problem and solve it all. So the problems that we have are our own creation, because we are the masters of everything that we are. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.